or a ditch
bug
bag.
out bag.
Yeah, bug
but
out
hold
bag.
on, I got to say for the listener, there's a different. You're not a prepper. You're not a doomsday prepper. You're a guy. You and I have been friends a long time. You live down the street. Me and you and Brian Callen hang out. You and I take our kids to the beach. So you're a guy like you immersed yourself in this. So I don't want the listeners to lump you in with the nutty doomsday preppers. You're just a dad that wants to know what to do if the shit hits the fan. This is where this. So I just wanted to make that distinction.
Yeah, I'm not
You're
living in the bunker.
You're not a doomsday prepper.
Well, I'll get into that if you want, because I think one of the interesting things is that line between preparing and being paranoid. You know what I mean? Where I think with prepping and stuff, if you can be more prepared but way more anxious and unhappy. Whereas if you're preparing and you're becoming more self-sufficient, you can enjoy your life because at the end of the day, you can't go live in a bunker. You know, you can't spend 100% of your time deep in your bunker. You have to go to work. You have to go on vacation.
I'd rather be in a bunker than go to work, tell you the truth. I don't have that choice. I don't have a bunker. If I had a bunker, I'd be in there all day long.
I think a bunker is a
sponsor.
weakness. I think a bunker is a weakness.
Yeah, you go on about this in your...
This is one of my rants. I think it's a little... I mean, listen, it'd be great to have one. I don't have one. I can't afford it, but it would be great. But the danger you run is that you're mentally attached to your bunker, and all the signs are showing you it's time to get up and go. And all the signs are saying you should do this or that. But you're thinking, hey, no, I'm going to stay in my bunker. And you stay too long.
Yeah, well, you know, I saw this show where this company builds these bunkers.
Yeah.
And they built it, and you know, they have like a pipe sticking out of the ground. This guy's got all these weapons down there, but all they got to do is pour gasoline down the pipe if they want you out of there. I mean, it's not like they're that safe if someone attacks them.
Well, there's even more ridiculous than that. There's a company that you pay them, they build you a bunker in Utah, and they promise they're going to send a chopper for you when the shit hits the fan.
You pay like 50 grand. I saw
yeah, like what are you talking about? I promise that chopper's coming.
We ought to start a company like that.
Yeah.
What would we call it?
Well, we'll tell them we'll send a chopper and we'll limo you to the chopper. We'll beat those guys.
Yep.
Right. You know, and you know what? But right on your way to your bunker, we'll have you fill seats at the Oscars.
That's right. You can be a seat filler at your bunker.
Feed you mice in your seats at the Oscar. But it's a good point in the book, Disaster Diaries by Sam Sheridan. Go to Amazon and order this. Let's make Sam some money, for crying out loud. This guy's been like the starving artist.
So he can buy a bunker.
Yeah, help me buy my bunker.
For crying out loud.
The bunker mentality is you're stationary, and you paint a really good argument anti-bunker in this book, and that is if it's the end of the world as we know it, you have got to be nomadic. You have got to be on the move because people are going to come to take your bunker.
Well, it's just there's too much you don't know. Like, what if it's this? There's so many ways the world could end. There's so many there's so many doomsday scenarios. If it's a meteor, if it's Minuteman missiles, a lot of those sites are in Montana. If your bunker's deep in the woods in Montana, you're going to be under 2 inches of radiation ash. So you might have been better off being somewhere else.
Right.
Where's the safest place in the United States? Like
it's
Kansas,
all specific.
like midway out in the Midwest, because you don't have to worry about maybe volcanoes, earthquakes.
Well, whoever has the most mice.
There's a lot of mice.
I think we've hit our mice jokes.
No.
No?
I'm just getting warmed up.
I'm just getting warmed up, Sam.
Well, I think the truth of the matter, and I think everyone is sort of aware of this, is that the city is fragile, right? The cities without the grid. So 80% of people in America live in a city.
All right.
And without the grid functioning, without electricity, water, and power,
DWP,
sewage,
man, yeah,
those bastards.
those populations are unsustainable. You know what I mean?
So if you live in New York City and there's no water, all of a sudden it's gonna
be a problem.
Calamitous.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. So I mean, that's a real vulnerability that I think and that's a lot of what these preppers are hitting off of. I think is they're scared. That's a true, real vulnerability. Now, is the grid really that vulnerable? Will the grid be able to be repaired quickly? That's where you get into debate and stuff like that. And I don't think the bunker is necessarily like never build a bunker, because obviously in some situations you want a bunker, but
how about we just go attack somebody's bunker?
There you go.
We'll be the nomadic.
You're the problem right there. Actually, I have a whole section on you.
Break it down. What's the problem?
The guys I've met plenty of guys who say, I don't need this because I've got guns, and when the shit hits the fan, I'll take what I need. And you're like, oh, so you're just going to start, murdering people? Oh, that's cool.
I'm not going to murder anybody.
Wing them. You're going to start. Well, what if they fight you?
You won't murder them. You'll just wing them. Right?
I'll just wing them. I'll shoot them a little.
I'll shoot him in the hip.
Okay, that's not bad.
Well, so the safest place to live at the end of days is pretty much, as you and Dan said, the middle of the country, away from the grid.
I mean, listen, they study, the military studies what they call refugee lines of drift, like what would happen to these cities and all this stuff if we have a refugee situation in America, like War of the Worlds, right? Spielberg, that was like a American refugee thing, right? So yeah, but it's just until you know. And I get into why you probably don't know, why you're probably wrong about what you think. It's too early to bunker up. It's a little early to be so convinced that because it can make you blind. It can make you myopic. If you're sure it's an economic collapse that's coming and the world's going to collapse, you might miss something else. You might not be paying attention, and you might not be ready. So I think it's.
Well, I think you brought up a really great point with the grid. Like if you're in LA, and LA is like super gridded and gridded out, and all of a sudden there's no sewage. You said sewage too. Like nobody even thinks about that. What if there's no sewage? What if there's no water? What if there's no power and there's no electricity?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be.
No one's going to be on the roads because you're going to run out of gas, and the gas station will long have been looted and stolen for their gasoline. So then all of a sudden you got like an absolute madhouse. But if you live in the woods of Tennessee and you've been kind of, you've been shitting in an outhouse for the last 8 years, it's really not going to affect you that much.
Yeah.
You might not even notice for a couple of years. The grid's done.
Well, that's what
until people from California start running across your property line in Tennessee.
When I was up with the Inuit, like if the world ended for them.
What's an Inuit?
The Inuit are the Eskimo.
Sounds like some computer program.
The Inuit, yeah.
So you were up, that's the other thing.
I mean, those guys.
Sam went all over the world to learn what it would be like if the world ended in that part of the world.
Well, or
so
if it was like a frozen end of the world ice age type thing. So I did sea ice survival and
you went up by like Hudson Bay in Canada.
Yeah,
and
I was
you
up
had like
in
sled dogs.
Purvernatuck, which means the land of the rotting meat.
What's the name of the town?
Purvernatuck.
I saw it written out, but I didn't know how possibly to say it.
Yeah, Inuit.
And why is it called land of rotting meat?
So the town, it's I don't know.
Self-explanatory?
Yeah, I think that
smells like rotting meat.
Yeah, I think that would probably
be. Or is
be
that the local strip club? It's their largest export.
But yeah, anyway, I mean, I don't know where I was going, but
I'll tell you, I jumped you off tracks. We were talking about your bug out bag.
Right. Well, I think, again, everything has to be specific, right? There's no best of anything. It's like, is there a best screwdriver? Do you have a best screwdriver? It's like, no, you use the screwdriver you need. Maybe it's a slot, maybe it's a Phillips head. You have to. So if you're in Southern California, you need more water, less warm clothes. If you're bug out bag and you're in Michigan in the winter, you better have good foot gear. You better be warmly dressed.
You have a bug out bag.
Yeah.
That's what Uncle
I have several.
Is nuts.
I have several bug out bags.
I know. I keep getting confused here. How heavy is it?
What do you mean you have several bug out bags?
Well, I have a big one in the house for like the family bug out, and then I have a little one in the car, with just...
What's in your bug out bag in the car?
Just, I don't even know. I have to
like
go
your
look,
house collapses.
There's water.
There's
God
forbid. You can only use the one in the car.
There's a change of clothes for everybody. There's...
In the car?
Yeah. There's...
Space
I think
blankets?
I have a... Yeah, see, space blankets
I have
are tough.
space blankets, but nothing else.
You ever try to use them?
No. Well, I think what can you stuff them down your pants or something?
Yeah, I mean,
that's about it.
Well, you can use them, but it's not like going to keep you like, ooh, space blanket.
I know that's the way they make it. They kind of make it seem like that's going to happen.
They can be used because they will reflect heat, and you can use them to and yeah, if you use them in layer like newspapers and stuff. But so anyway, yeah, I have like a bivvy, which is like a little. One-person tent, kind of thing. And
it's nice that your wife and kid are on the outside of your one-person tent.
No, we'd all snuggle in there.
I'm looking through the book. I don't want you to think I'm not listening to what you're saying.
No,
I've dog-eared pages that I found.
Let's get into it.
Fascinating.
We call them rat-eared pages.
Rat-eared pages. A month of water in the house. That's what everyone in America should have.
Southern
per
California,
you.
for sure.
How much is that, though? How much is a month's worth of water about?
Well, best case scenario would be a gallon of water a day
per person. Yeah,
you can get by on a lot less, like a quart, probably minimum.
What's the obviously to drink? But
to drink. Just to drink. That's just to drink.
What about
not
smart
for
water?
Washing?
Can you get by with even less if it's smart water?
Yes, exactly. Okay. Smart water is half.
Okay.
Ration the water?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard people say that it's better to just drink as much as you need each day.
Yeah, no, you definitely a gallon is a lot, and that's working in hot weather.
It's hard to drink a gallon of water.
Yeah, no, not that hard. But if it's working in hot weather, you drink
for me because I'm so tiny and dainty.
You barely ever sweat. Your pores are so tight.
Oh my god.
But yeah, you can get by with a lot less, and you definitely would want to ration it because you don't know. Listen, all I'm saying to Jay and to you guys, if you live in Southern California, in the next 30 years, the big one's like an 80% chance it's going to happen. So that's pretty much a guarantee.
An 80% chance of
the big one.
The big one, like Red Fox. Elizabeth, this is the big one. A heart attack on an old black guy?
Yep.
What's the big one?
The big one's the earthquake, man. The next
80% chance it's coming, and when?
The next 30 years.
And because we're super long overdue, and that's the one thing about earthquakes is you actually can't. There is a science to when they're coming.
Yeah, no, I talked to these engineers at UCLA about it, and its stuff is changing. I just saw another study that it's possible they could have much bigger earthquakes here. They think now than
I'm sure people in Northridge are thrilled to hear that.
Well, it's amazing. They got all these fault lines all over the place now. They got them in the Midwest. They got them on the East Coast.
Yeah, they find fault lines everywhere.
They don't even know it.
No, and of course, any landfill. Which is New York and Boston, that turns back into water.
Back Bay will be nothing again.
If there's a big earthquake in New York or Boston, anything built on landfill will basically liquefy.
So a big earthquake, like a 7 in New York, does that put Manhattan underwater?
Probably.
Really?
Yeah.
We just had a 7 here. Northridge was a 7.
Was
right?
it?
I'm asking you.
I don't think
it was like a 6.
You wrote the disaster diaries. Help me.
It was close to a 7. It just depended on where you were in the valley. But
what if I was in the 7 portion of the valley?
Well, Woodland Hills was one of the worst. That was just about a 7. Yeah.
You bring up great points in the book, The Disaster Diaries. Go to Amazon and order Sam's book. Look at it like this. Are you going to sue the government for negligence after you run out of water and die? The situation in Los Angeles probably wouldn't be quite life or death, but it would suck. You might have to go wait in line for 8 hours a day just to get water from a National Guard truck. The hot sun beating down on thousands of parched Angelinos. Sounds delightful. So what was your solution to this?
I got a big... blue jug off Amazon, and you change the water in every couple of months, and there's 100 gallons in there, and then
you have 100 gallons of water in your garage.
Pump. Yeah.
What if the garage collapses on your 100-gallon water
So
drum?
you're getting into exactly the bunker issue, which is there's.
I'm a podcast host. I'm asking you.
No, but I'm saying you're illuminating the exact issue, which is the what if.
You're complimenting me.
I am complimenting
Sorry
you. You're hitting
that.
it right on the head, dude.
Thank you, buddy.
You're so good, dude. You're a genius. No, it's really true. You can what if any scenario to death, and you should, but it's a certain point. Once you're bunkered in behind your razor wire with your machine guns, and anybody who comes near me is getting shot, and I can't do anything, and at a certain point you lose the quality of your life because you're too afraid. So I think that's where you kind of make your trade-offs. You have to, it's like being a father. You have to let your daughter go on a date at some point.
Instead of putting her in a bunker.
Yeah.
Don't put your daughter in a bunker. Put her and her date in the bunker and say, one of you guys is coming out pregnant.
Don't do that.
We need to repopulate this post-apocalyptic land. The biggest long-term problem facing you in a true apocalypse is adjusting to your reality. That's what you're
right. Yeah. No, I mean, certainly I think one of the things I got really interested in was, maybe because of the fighter's mind, was, the mental side of a huge disaster like this, an end of the world disaster. Are you really going to be able to, put on your backpack and, hey, let's go, world's in flames. I think that's why I talked to a lot of people about PTSD and kind of what they'd seen in Haiti and what they'd seen in Katrina, post Katrina, and what they'd seen, for the 9/11 people. And it's something I think, it's almost as important as anything. I mean, every survival expert out there will tell you survival is 90% mental or whatever. You know what I mean? So if you're going to neglect that, you may do some damage to yourself with trauma,
So one of the best things you could do in a doomsday scenario is to say, this has really happened. Let's get our shit together. Let's get our water, figure out what we're just accepting it and getting going.
I mean, I think acceptance would be a huge issue. In disasters, they talk about the stages people go through, and one of the stages is milling. Which is that.
I love that.
Was so. Amanda Ripley does a much better job than me, and I just caged it off her. She wrote a book called Unthinkable, but a lot of it was about 9/11. These people in the buildings, a plane flies into your building, and they talk and they go back to their desk and they write emails and they make phone calls. A plane just hit your building. You know, well, a few people who were from South America who'd lived through big earthquakes just left. You know, they left and they were out, you know, in 5 minutes and they were fine because they knew, like, oh, plane hits the building, it's time to go. You know what I mean? Where